Hello, everyone. A quick warning for anyone who is uncomfortable with descriptions of surgery. Pretty in-depth detail on genitalia and exactly how cake pops might get removed, if you know what I'm saying. This might not be the podcast for you. But if that sounds interesting, this is the podcast for you. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to My Trans Best Friend, the podcast where me, your trans best friend, Lily, talks about all the stuff that I want to talk about, like what's going on in my life, like what I did last night, like how I got my cake pops removed last week. We're going to cover all of that stuff today. But before we get into that, you might not be aware, but this show is brought to you by Lily's Lovelies on Patreon. Patreon is a site that you can go to pledge a certain dollar amount per month, say 5, 10, 75, 750, 10,000, 100 million dollars per month. However many dollars you want, you can pledge. And in fact, those Lily's Lovelies are listening right now. Lily's Lovelies like Dakota, who is one of our elite level sponsors. Caitlin as well, one of our elite level sponsors, keeping the lights on, making sure that rent is paid. I love you, lovelies. Thank you for your support. You can become a Lily's Lovely at patreon.com/LILLYTINO. Okay. Orchiectomy. Yeah, it's an orchiectomy is a surgical procedure that I got a week ago today. In fact, a week ago at this moment, last Friday at 8:22 a.m., I was under anesthesia, probably in the OR. Yeah, they were probably just finishing up because my surgery was scheduled for 7:30 a.m. and it was an hour long. So yeah, they would have just been like sewing me up probably. So that's we're exactly a week out. Whew, what an adventure it has been. I feel like it's probably important to back it up even before the orchie to talk about why an orchie in the first place, right? Because, last night at the drag show, a microphone was put in my face. I asked for it. And they said, "What are you celebrating tonight?" And I said, "I'm celebrating getting my cake pops removed." And it took a while. There was like a beat. And everyone was like, "You're celebrating that? You got your cake pops removed?" Testicles, for those who are wondering. It's like, why, right? Because if you're not someone experiencing gender dysphoria, it seems a bit drastic. Seems a bit like, wait, what? Wait, what, Lily? What are you doing that for? Gender dysphoria, the basic definition, and the reason why I got my cake pops removed voluntarily, I sought this out. It's pretty simple. Gender I was assigned at birth, which is male. I was assigned gender. Basically, I was given this pair of shoes that just didn't fit me. There was rocks in these shoes that I was given, and I've spent a lot of time taking the rocks out one by one. That involves transitioning with hormones. It involves getting laser removal on my face. Every time I take a rock out, I feel better. I feel more like myself. I'm not thinking about my dang shoes all the time, and I'm just able to live my life. And 2 literal rocks that I've been carrying around with me since I was born have been my cake pops. And I think I mentioned this in one of my videos, but y'all, this is not my first surgery down there. The only other time that I have been under anesthesia, only other time, was when I was 6 months old. Because growing up in the deep south of the United States of America, in Columbus, Georgia, when I was born as a Jewish kid, my mom had to find a moil. If you don't know what a moil is a specialized Jewish person whose job is to circumcise penis having children, which is a really weird and gross way of saying it, but I mean, I could say little boys, but I wasn't a little boy. I was a little trans girl who just didn't know it yet. And this guy, there's only one guy in town because it was a deep South town, Columbus, Georgia. Almost virtually no Jewish people, right? Enough that there was one mohel. This mohel was on the brink of retirement. Like, basically retired, wasn't doing any circumcisions. He's like not really doing circumcisions anymore. And what she does is she brings this man a package deal. Okay? A package deal. She says, Mr. Moyle, I'm about to have a child who I need ritualistically circumcised. Okay? Now, you might say, oh, one kid, I'm not coming out of semi-retirement for one child, right? So, but I've thought ahead. My friend who has been like co-pregnant with me, we both got pregnant about the same time. We're both going to have a kid around the same time. I got another one for you. So you can do 2. You come out of retirement, you get 2 kids, 2 little circumcisions to do, and you're good, right? She effectively dragged this man out of retirement. 2 penises for the price of 1. Exactly, Amy Stravinsky. And this guy did the circumcision. But lo and behold, wouldn't you know that when you drag a small town mohel out of retirement who's kind of reluctant, he's going to do a bad job. I have not gotten the full 411 on exactly what happened. To my knowledge, this mohel circumcised me unevenly. So he took some off the top, but it was kind of asymmetrical. Okay? Does that make sense? That is my understanding. As far as I know, there were no pictures taken. Maybe there were. I don't know. If there are, I'm glad they don't exist anymore. Just, of course, I mean for like documentation purposes. So at 6 months old, my mom made the decision. I don't want Lily to feel self-conscious about her penis. Of course, at the time, she was thinking more like, I don't want Nick to feel unconscious about his penis. And while the spirit was good, the issue was less about a symmetrical penis and more about the penis overall. But that's neither here nor there. My mother decided that it's better to do and take care of this now when they're not going to remember it at all. Just get it out of the way. Let's get it fixed. We don't want this mohel. Like, this mohel did a bad job. He messed up. Let's just go to an actual surgeon who knows what they're doing. We'll get it taken care of. And that's what they did. So at 6 months old, I was put under the influence of anesthesia and re-circumcised. Okay? So in a weird way, if you think about it, my mother, God love her. We know my mom. We love my mom. My mother signed me up for gender-affirming surgery at 6 months old. I don't think that's how she was thinking about it, but she wanted me to feel comfortable with my genitalia, which is, I think, a very sweet instinct of hers. I maintain that it was probably the right move, but I also don't know how bad it was. Now, before we go any further, I want to be clear. The length of my cake pop stick has not been affected. We are talking about foreskin removal and just the shape of the foreskin itself, right? As opposed to it being like perfectly circular instead of like more like amorphous, right? So we all know what a circumcision is. Anyways, I don't remember any of that. I don't remember any of that. There's no like scarring or anything. It just looks normal down there. So, fast forward 27 years. I am realizing that I'm trans and I have been experiencing gender dysphoria in a big way for a long, long time. There's a lot of things that I feel dysphoria over. And different trans people feel dysphoria about different things. Probably my primary source of dysphoria, more so than anything, is going to be hair. Because I'm an Italian girl. And whoo boy, do my Italian, and I guess you could also say Eastern European, genetic roots come through. Because, I haven't shaved my chest in like a day. Woo, you can't see it here, but whoo boy, I got to shave that. I look down at my chest and I'm like, oh, I want it to be smooth. Like, make it all smooth, please. Like, that scene from the 40-Year-Old Virgin where Steve Carell is like screaming when they rip his chest. You know what I'm talking about? Where they like put the little wax on and go, shh, and he like actually did it and they filmed it and he was actually doing it. Anyways, I look at that scene and I'm like, yes, do it for me. I want to feel that. Just because I hate hair. I've had laser treatment. I've had like probably close to 20 sessions just on my face, and I still have to shave every day. I've had 8 sessions on my entire full body, including my chest. But it just serves to show you how stinking hairy I am. We've got a long way to go. So, you talk about dysphoria. It manifests in a lot of different ways for people. You talk about bottom dysphoria. So when I look downstairs and I say, those parts are not the kind of parts I would have wanted. I don't feel great about those parts. I wish I had the other parts. That's kind of like the verbal version of dysphoria when it comes to your downstairs parts. Cake pops. Not every trans person feels that. Not every single person does. A lot of trans women are perfectly happy to keep both cake pop and stick. Maybe they have dysphoria about other stuff. Maybe they just feel it about the hair. Maybe they have it more about like facial structure. Maybe facial feminization surgery is the thing they want more than anything else. And they're good once they have that, right? It just depends on the person. So when I talk about my bottom dysphoria, I would say it's medium. I don't like when I'm thinking about the things that make me upset, right? The dysphoric things that kick me the most. It's hair. By a long shot. I'm not like looking down at my mate in 2 veg and thinking, ugh, get it out of here. And what's more is you talk about the vaginoplasty, which is, of course, what a lot of people call, quote unquote, the surgery. And a lot of people think you complete your trans, and by a lot of people, I mean mostly non-trans people, cis people, will come in and say, yeah, have you completed your transition yet? Which is a bothersome question because they mean, have you gotten a vaginoplasty? That's what they're asking. But calling it completing your transition suggests that the way to like win your transition and to finish it all is to get a vaginoplasty. Like that's the end all be all of being a trans woman, right? And the same would go for like a trans man who you'd be looking at a phalloplasty, right? That's the other direction of bottom surgery, right? Have you finished? Did you complete it, right? Because that's the big final step. Not for everyone. And I think I probably talked about it on the podcast before, but like, I don't know if I want a vaginoplasty. I don't know. I'm certainly not, like if someone came into the door right now and said, hey, Lily, if you could snap your fingers and have been born with a vagina, right? Just, or, boom, you have one. And like the ovaries, the uterus, it's all there, right? Or even just the vagina. We can take the uterus out because we talk about periods and that's a whole different thing. But if you could snap your fingers and have a vagina, would you? I probably would, right? Because the idea being that you get to skip over the surgery, the recovery, and any complications, and then the end state of where you've, a couple years in, what it looks like for you. Like, right? How does it work? Because there's so many risk factors. A lot of people have great experiences. In fact, I've seen 2 neovaginas in my day. Number one was in a bathroom stall with a friend. One of the last times that I ever went out partying. First time I ever went into a public women's bathroom was in a club, and she pulled down her pants and said, "Hey, this is my new vagina." And I said, "Whoa." It looked good. It was from like one of the best surgeons in the world that she got it from. So it was like, I can't tell the difference. And the second time I seen a neovagina was on Katie. That's her code name. Although y'all, if you might have heard me slip and say her actual name once, but I won't say it again. She has a neovagina, and we've been intimate. So like I've had way more hands-on experience. The method she got for her vaginoplasty is called perineum pull-through, which basically uses like intestinal lining for the interior, which can self-lubricate, which is crazy that in 2023 you can get a self-lubricating vagina. And I can confirm it self-lubricates her vagina. It's crazy. It feels great. It doesn't feel any different on the inside. But it is different in some ways, right? Like, look, I'm no stranger to a cis woman's vagina. My body count is high. Not trying to brag, just stating facts. Stating the facts, okay? The pleasure centers are different, right? The clit is kind of there. Visually, it's not quite there, but like sensory-wise, they try and arrange things so that if you touch the clit, it's more sensitive. But it's still not the same. Also, dilation. When you have someone create a hole inside of you, and I don't mean to use the word hole in some way, in the way that some people use it, which is like a derogatory word to say it's not actually a vagina, which it is. When someone creates a space where there was once not space, you need to make sure that doesn't seal up, which is a gross thing to think about, but it's true, and it's called dilating. So like for the first stage of healing, you're dilating 3+ times a day, which is like sticking a huge, far less, it looks like a dildo, but it's not pleasurable like a dildo. It's like hard plastic, and you got to stick it up there and just let it sit there. And you have to do it over and over and over and over again. It's huge. So that all said, it's still possible to have a vaginoplasty and be super happy. Many people are. Many people are great or consider it a life-saving procedure for them. All right. And that's why you would get it in the first place. But this is all to say that I'm not sure if it's the right move for me. I don't know. But here's one thing I do know. I don't like balls. I don't like them. I've never once looked down at my balls and been like, yeah, get it, girl. Ooh, look at them balls. Ball alert. Wah, wah, wah. Never once. Even before I knew I was trans, it was like, ugh, balls. Can't we just do like ovaries and have them inside? I know it's like a heat thing and that's the reason they droop down, but biology, can we please like move past balls? They hurt when you get kicked there. It's just no good. So I don't like my balls. I don't know if I want a vaginoplasty, but dang, if I could snap my fingers and be rid of my cake pops, we can call them cake pops, that's a more pleasant term, and be rid of my cake pops, I would. And the good news about modern medicine is that an orchiectomy, or a cake pop removal, it's not quite snapping your fingers, but it's not that far from it either. Because when you think about it, they put you under, they open the cake pop bag, peek around, bloop, bloop, take them out, stitch it up, and you're in bed for a week or so, and you're good. It's like a vasectomy plus. It's the upgraded version of a vasectomy. A vasectomy, of course, they leave the testicles, but they sever they sever the vas deferens, which is where the sperm that are made in the balls go up, through, and out, right? They just cut off the line, the supply line. So they're still there. Body's still making testosterone and sperm, but just can't go anywhere, right? So I realized pretty early on in my transition that I got no problem whatsoever getting an orchiectomy. In fact, pretty early on in my mental roadmap, it was like, yeah, that makes sense. I think when it, I'm going to move towards that. I'm going to work towards that. And we're going to get to the orchiectomy. I don't know when, but we'll do it, right? So fast forward to earlier this year. I am, of course, as I mentioned, I started full-time content creation at the end of 2022. So that meant I lost my health insurance that I had through my job, which was through Aetna. Aetna, of course, being trash insurance. That is terrible for trans people. And I hated every second of being on Aetna. Through the city of San Francisco, I have access to Kaiser Permanente. Kaiser has a lot of issues in terms of efficiency. If you've ever had Kaiser Permanente, you might know. Every single person has like a hyper-specialized job. So if you're like, hey, oh yeah, I forgot, like, when's my appointment? They're like, oh no, I'm not the appointment person. I'm the call you to remind you about this appointment. I don't know about any of your other appointments. So like, it's just like you have to call 17 people to get anything done. Anyways, one of the good things about Kaiser is that their gender affirming care is actually top tier, at least policy wise. So in theory, as long as you jump through all the hoops they ask you to jump through, you're going to be fine, and you're going to get the care you need at a pretty reasonable rate, especially if you're on like cost reduced. So I started the process of getting an orchiectomy. I talked to person number one, who was like, are you really trans? And I was like, yeah. How long you been transitioning? 2 years. You on hormones? Yeah. Seems trans to me. Moving on to the next person. The next person said, okay, so you're trans. Yeah. Cool. On to the next person. It's like literally like they will call you over and over and over again just to confirm things they already know. It's always a different person who doesn't know that anyone else ever called you, right? They keep going down the line. And then you finally get to the person who's like, all right, orchiectomy time, get you on the surgery schedule. And we got it. My doctor, Dr. Martinez, Arturo Martinez at the Kaiser Permanente Hospital. I did not meet him any day. I didn't meet him before the day of the surgery. The night before, they had all these different things that I needed to do. So first off, I could not eat 8 hours before the surgery. So if y'all remember, we were on stream. If y'all watch my streams, if you're listening to this and you watch my streams, you would know I was out at a Vietnamese restaurant. So I stopped eating at around 3 or 4 p.m. when we left that restaurant. That was the day before. They also asked me that day the night before to wash my hair. Sad, but it's okay. And then also, they gave me these wipes. Oh, what was it called? Like chlorine gluconate? I don't know. It was some like chemical name, and it was on a wipe. And you take a shower, and then you wait. You get out of the shower, you wait a few minutes, and then you wipe your whole body with these wipes, and it's supposed to stick on your skin and kind of like keep you relatively disinfected. And then they also ask you the next morning to not shower, but to wipe again, just to re-disinfect yourself. Okay. Oh. So yes. What am I talking about? Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Okay. So I woke up that morning at 4 a.m. and walked Nugget. I was a little bit worried because I only have one key to my apartment, and I didn't want to have to like give my key to someone and like get it back while I was trying to get in my apartment when I was recovering. So I figured if I walked him at 4 a.m. and in theory I was supposed to be back by noon, be a little bit of a stretch, but he'd be okay. It was okay. Spoiler. He did not poop on the floor. He was just sleeping the whole time. So we're all good. So I walked Nugget at 4 a.m. We're walking around. We get the poop in. Is everything okay there in chat? Yeah, someone in chat is unmuted, so they're broadcasting their life to us right now. By the way, gentle reminder, if you want to listen to live recordings of this podcast, as I am like tuning into the text chat that's happening in Discord right now, there's like 10 people watching right now. You can be one of those people if you subscribe at patreon.com/LilyTino. Okay. I hop in an Uber. I get to the hospital around 5. I have to go to like an intake place. There's a whole kerfuffle because they had me as male on their forms, which is a really weird thing. It's just like one of the things with the Kaiser Permanente inefficiencies where literally anything can slip through the cracks at any time. And it's just no, like everyone has such specific jobs that there's like no accountability. Anyways, we got it figured out. I went and I checked into the like OR waiting room, and then I was brought back by my first of a couple nurses. I don't know, like maybe someone in the chat can help me, but there's like one person in particular. There's like a nurse in particular whose job, it seems, was to care for me and mostly me, right? So like she brought me back. She helped me get undressed and dressed into like the hospital gown and put the socks on, hospital socks, which are like a whole thing. She put the IV in me. She like told me what to expect. She kind of stuck around near me the whole time. She was kind of just like my helper. I'm assuming that nursing person has like a title. So we got that done. I disrobed. I'm getting pretty nervous at that point because I hadn't really considered it. I don't know. It was all becoming very real. Like, oh, I'm going to be so asleep that people are going to be able to be inside of me and remove things from my body. That is crazy. I've never really, I mean, look, yes, technically I've been under the influence of anesthesia when I was little, but even then, no one was really inside of me. They were kind of just taking a little off the top, right? So like, what? So I was starting to get really nervous, but I was trying to kind of just keep it all tamped down because sooner or later I was going to be out, and it's just going to happen. It was like point of no return at this point. I guess I could have said, never mind, but I didn't. I met my doctor, surgery doctor, my surgeon, I guess I should say. Surgeon, not surgery doctor. He was very nice. I was sure to tell him, like, okay, make sure don't remove the skin, because I know standard operating procedure here is to remove the skin. And by the skin, I mean the ball bag, cake pop bag. In vaginoplasties, depending on the method you use, if I ever did want to do that, the actual bag can technically be used as like skin later on, right? So even though I'm not like gung-ho on a vaginoplasty right now, maybe I will be in a couple of years, and I would be glad that I kept the skin. So that's still there. And he was like, yeah, we're going to keep the skin. All good. Cool. See you in the operating room. Great. Then my anesthesiologist came over, And she was very nice as well. She gave me the whole lowdown of like, okay, we're going to wheel you into the OR if you'd like. Before we wheel you into the OR, we can give you like a pre-sedative that'll keep you nice and sedated so that you're not like freaking out before we put you under. And I was like, yeah, please. And they said, okay, great. And I don't know when, and she said, okay, just so you know, you're not going to remember things going into the OR because of this. I said, I don't care. I still remember some things. I remember that and before we talk, I also had a cute little moment with her. I said, hey, by the way, like, I'm a content creator and I don't want to be that person, but like, do you think any like the nurses here would want to like take a selfie or like record a quick little video of them like telling me what's going to happen to me? And she's like, yeah, maybe. I think you just had to ask permission. I was like, yeah, sure. And then there was a beat and I said, do you want to be in any video? And she's like, no. And it was like, okay, there you go, asked and answered. But she was very nice. And it was around that time that they put the pre-sedative in my IV and I got rolled into the OR. I don't really remember the trip to the OR, the operating room, but I do remember getting rolled in and seeing the lights. If you know, you might know what I'm talking about just from movies. Like, there are these big like dome lights that have like a bunch of little lights inside of them, and they just like massive light, kind of like a ring light, but for doctors. Doctor ring lights, we'll call them. And I remember seeing the lights. There were two of them, and I remember hearing the surgeons do like their pre-surgery, I don't even know what it's called, like their checklist, right? They'll like, they were, I don't remember exactly what they said, but it's something like, yes, and then Dr. So-and-so will make the primary incision, and then, yes, and then Dr. So-and-so with this tool will do this, and then Dr. So-and-so will do this with this. Yes, we have we have the scalpel, we have the thing, check. And it was like, you could tell that they were just going off of a script, right? Like they knew exactly what was happening. They'd done this before. And this was just like their double checking process, right? So that was a little bit like, good. Okay. This is like a whole song and dance that they perfected over however many years. Great. And then I don't remember anything. It was kind of like the movies where, you know, the camera kind of fades out, and then before the camera fades back in, you hear the sound of beep, 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 beep. You know, like the little heart machine, kind of like it's almost like a cozy sound. It suggests that things went well. You're still alive because there's a heartbeat, right? And then you expect the camera kind of fades back in, right? And a lot of times in the movie, what they'll do is they'll like kind of have it first person perspective where it's like a little bit like the camera's a little bit blurry, and you might maybe even have like eyes on the camera that are like slowly opening and closing. Beep, beep. That's exactly what it was. And I just slowly came to, and that was, I want to say, because if I went under at 7:30, I woke up at about 10:30, something like that. So I was probably sleeping for another hour or two after the surgery. And who was I woozy? I later found out that the sedative that they had given me was fentanyl, which at first was like, what? Why'd you do that? And they're like, it's okay. Fentanyl was invented or, you know, discovered and primarily used for like actual medical sedation with proper dosage. Not like fentanyl is just a street drug. It's like, okay, that's the only context I've ever heard of fentanyl being used. They said, don't worry. I said, okay. I was loopy as heck, though. I was like, woo. And of course, the first, you know me, y'all. Lily, the influencer, the first thing she asks for right out of the gate, I don't want water. How did the surgery go? I don't care. Give me my phone. phone, please. Because I knew even in my like loopy state that I had one job, one thing that I needed to do before I could just like be chill. And that was, I needed to take a video right after surgery because I wanted, I was trying to shine a light on this process. That's kind of been my whole goal here. You all probably saw the cake pop videos I did. That would have been the third one. I did like a week out, I did a day out, and then I also did a video about like right after, which includes the loopy footage, which is quite funny. So I recorded just like a quick minute or two of, I made it, I lived, I'm in pain, but I'm good. And then I just kind of like put my phone down, and that was that. From there, I said, hey, so like, when am I out of here? And they said, well, you seem to be like waking up pretty quickly. If you'd like, we can just call your person that you told us about before, and they can come pick you up. I said, great, let's do it. So they called up my friend, Brandon, who was there. So Brandon is a guy I went to high school with. Brandon is incredible. I love the guy. He only in the last couple of years, honestly, not long after I moved to San Francisco, he moved to San Jose to work at EA. And then in the last few months has moved closer to Pacifica, which is a 30-minute drive from the city, or at least my side of the city. But he has a car, so it's like much easier for him to get to me. And he offered, he said, hey, do you need help? And I was like, yes, please. Come pick me up the day of. He said, great, I will. And he did. So they wheeled me out of the hospital, and we like coordinated it. They had it all down where they called him. They said, okay. And it was the nurse. I didn't have to talk to him at all. Like the nurse coordinated it. Like they called him. They said, okay, you can come now. Okay, we're going to be downstairs in a second. And they rolled me out. And then I stood up from the wheelchair into Brandon's car. And then we went home. Got back. Still pretty loopy, and he and I hung out for like a couple hours. We ordered some food. He ordered food, and we played video games. He works in video games. I love video games, so we play together often. So it was like a nice little bonding activity, and we had a nice time. And then Katie, the girl I've been seeing, who I was talking about, who has had bottom surgery, she came over, right? So her and Brandon met, and it wasn't long after she got here that Brandon was like, okay, all right, well, I'm going to head out. He's got a wife and kids. So, and he even took the day off from me, which is so sweet. And yeah, so then Katie and I hung out. She just kind of took care of me for the rest of the day. I think we watched a movie or two. We watched a stupid horror movie, a couple stupid horror movies, which was nice. And then she left, and, they helped me walk Nugget a little bit. But even still, I wasn't really... walking wasn't that bad. To describe how it feels after the fact, I'm assuming y'all want to know that. It is... How to put this? If you think about... If you are someone who has or had testicles and a scrotum, right? If you have had these items, the bag itself, there's not much feeling in the bag, right? Like, of course you can get hurt, but it's just a bag. It's not like particularly full of nerves. And once the actual cake pops are gone, it's not like there's anything there to feel pain, right? So, but somewhere's going to feel pain, and it's going to be kind of like the lower abdomen, right? Like above the cake pop stick. That's sort of like the above the mons pubis, if you will, kind of like the lower intestinal area. That's where the pain is. That's where the pain radiates up into. And even today, it's still kind of sore. So when I walk, like, yeah, of course, I don't want to like bump into the stitches down there. But it's really like when I stand up from something, that's where the lower intestinal pain is going to come in when I'm getting out of bed, when I'm, bending over to pick up Nugget's poop, for example. That's where it's like, oof. So when I say that last night when I shook my ass in front of a bunch of people at a drag show, it maybe wasn't the smartest idea just because of the pain, but it was worth it. But yeah, so Katie left that day, and then the next day I had my friend Lilith come over. Lilith, by the way, is in the Discord. I don't think she's here right now, but Desert Lily, if y'all know, she's in there. She runs PFLAG in San Francisco. Fun fact. But yeah, so she came over. She made me ramen. We hung out. I think we watched a movie or something. I forget. And then Abigail, also my friend, came over. So I had like a whole team of people taking care of me the first day or two. And Katie came over again on Sunday. We hung out. And y'all, I'm going to tell you something. We played Monopoly. Can you believe that? Can you believe that 48 hours after I had a pretty intense surgery? Not the most intense surgery, but look, someone was inside of my body taking things out and snipping things. I had Monopoly times, spicy Monopoly times with Katie. And I'm going to tell you how it happened. So she and I have learned that we both love horror movies a lot. And that's great because we can just put on a stupid horror movie and watch it and like make fun of it or be scared. And she had never seen Friday the 13th. Now. Oh, is the recording about to stop? Nope, we're good. I really hope this recording comes out well. It's like skipping all over the place on the thing. Okay, so we were watching Friday the 13th, and y'all, Friday the 13th is a horny movie. It's like the whole point of it is that Jason, although spoiler in the first movie, it's actually Jason's mom, finds horny camp counselors usually when they are having sex or when they have just had sex or whatever, and kills them because apparently the way that Jason died was like camp counselors were having sex and they didn't realize that he was drowning. It doesn't matter. The point is that there's a lot of sex in this movie. It's a very horny movie. There's a scene where Kevin Bacon, whose first ever movie, Friday the 13th, in the 80s, and whoever places his like love interest, girlfriend in the movie are having sex. And y'all, it's a hot scene. It's hot. When I say they're like straight up having orgasms on camera, I'm not joking. They really, really are. It's great. And when this scene came on, and I looked over at this cutie patootie sitting next to me, that for sure, if it weren't for my orchiectomy, would have been ravaging me already, hopefully. Or I would have been ravaging her. I gave her the eyes like, I'm aroused. This is turning into a Lily's Lusties. But anyways, we started making out. One thing led to another. We were disrobed fully on my bed. Now, here's the thing. Erection, no problem. No problem whatsoever. The only adjustment we had to make was that we just kind of had to take it slow. Just a little bit slow, right? There was no... I mean, everything was working down there. I did not pass go. Completely. I kind of got close at one point. But I think I talked about it on the other Lily's Lusties podcast, which is a Patreon exclusive. That we can't fully have penetrative sex because she has kind of like a muscle block where it's just so tight in there that we can't have full sex. So anyways, point is, it was a good time and I didn't really hurt and I was enjoying myself. So 48 hours after an orchiectomy, Lily was getting some. Okay. So that was that. Now, the only other things I'll say is just kind of like over this past week, the biggest issue has been the loopiness. And I mentioned this on stream before that. I like going under anesthesia. I don't know what those chemicals are that they're putting in you, but god dang, that stuff is a lot. It makes you permanently sleepy for the next like week or two, apparently, or so I've heard. Cause like even now, even a week after, I still am not like mentally all the way here. And like last night, Jen's in the chat is asking, how do I feel after yesterday? Because yesterday I did a lot. I'm exhausted, Jens. I can't lie to you. Like, I am so tired. So tired. Like, it was a huge push for me. Yesterday, of course, we went out to a drag show and then to dinner afterwards. This was maybe poor planning on my part because this was the thing that we did last night was a paid stream. I like paid my rent last night for reference, for the most, like basically. And, you know, I had to do it, right? It would have been great if it had been a week from now, but this is the way that was scheduled. And it was a lot of fun. It was great, Jens. It was great. We went to a drag show. I got called up. I danced. I shook my ass. We went out for dinner. It was incredible. I loved it. But also the whole time my body was like, hey, Lily, just so you know, like, don't want to interrupt you. Not trying to rain on your parade. We see you're having a great time. You do that. You go get it, girl. Just so you know, tomorrow you're going to be so tired. Like, you're not going to regret this at all, but just like be ready to sit on the couch all day long. Okay? Cool. Talk to you tomorrow. Love you. Bye. That was my internal monologue last night. It was worth it, especially because I'm going to take the weekend off, of course, like I normally do. So, the only other thing worth mentioning other than like I've been taking it easy, I haven't been going out much, just trying to stay in my apartment for the most part, sleep when I can, rest physically. Well, actually, two things. Number one, I started biking again. Maybe not the smartest move on my part, but I will tell you this. I love exercise so much. It is such an important thing for me to help get my mind straight. The only straight thing about me, or at least try to make one thing straight about me, just to kind of get my head in the right place, because if I don't work out, like I'm like all over the place mentally. It like kind of helps quiet the anxiety. So, and also for reference, I stopped taking, like I weaned off, but I stopped taking, what's it called? Sertraline, Zoloft, aka Zoloft. So that's been like, even though I've been weaning off, it's still been like mentally a big transition. And also I went off finasteride and spironolactone. Finasteride is the hair drug. Spironolactone is the drug I can stop taking now that I've had my orchiectomy, because there's no testosterone to suppress in the first place. That's what it does. It's a testosterone suppressant. And if there's no cake pops to make testosterone, there's no reason to take this drug spironolactone that is going to suppress it, right? It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Spironolactone. And it's had a lot of nasty side effects for everyone who takes it. It's like, it's a super diuretic, so it makes you pee all the time. For me, it made me really tired. I know for some people it was more of like a brain fog. It's just not a fun drug to be on. It's very powerful. It does its job well, but I'm happy to be rid of it. So yeah, so like mentally it's been a big transition just for that reason, but then also to have this brain fog from anesthesia. It's like, okay, even though working out on a bike, a stationary bike, after I just got my cake pops removed is maybe not physically the best choice for me, even though it's not really painful. It's just I kind of got to be careful. I think overall good for me to kind of get that exercise in. So I've been doing that. I just kind of got to sit on the bike a little bit different, a little bit weird to make sure that it's all good. I've been icing it down there a lot. I have this like long ice bag that fits in my pants so that I can keep everything nice and chilly. It also kind of like doubles as a physical support beam, if that makes sense, because gravity, when pulling things down that have stitches in it, is like a mild discomfort. So, I also have now 2 nights in a row brought myself to pass go at Self Monopoly, which has been very nice. 2 nights ago, which was the first time I did it, was, I think, the more pleasant of the two. There wasn't really any pain. Now look, I have a massive sex drive. some people are like, yeah, I'm asexual, maybe demisexual. Your girl horny 24/7. There's a reason that I played Monopoly 48 hours after I had my surgery. Horny. So it stands to reason that like by Thursday night, I would be playing Monopoly with myself. So I got my little Hitachi wand. That's probably the biggest issue, is that the Hitachi wand vibrations spread through kind of like that general area, right? Like that was the toughest part. But Thursday night was actually pretty much pain-free. It didn't take me very long to do it. Like, it wasn't a very extended session. We just kind of, right before bed, just kind of popped out my phone. I was like, hey, buzz, buzz, buzz. Okay, cool, fun, bye. Like that kind of thing. And then last night, it was, I don't know, I think the vibrations, I think just because I had exerted myself so much last evening, it's just like the discomfort was a little bit more, but it was still fun. Maybe I'll do it again today. Who knows? So that was good. And then, yeah, I guess in terms of, I guess the last thing to talk about is like, what does it look like now, right? I'm not trying to put pictures on the internet. I'll put pictures on the internet of my titties, but God help me if y'all are going to see the cake pops. I will kind of give you like a vague description though. If you think about it, like what's a material that would be similar, right? I don't even know. Any bag, a stretchy bag of some kind. If you put 2 cake pops in a bag that's stretchy, the bag is going to kind of stretch down, right? Stands to reason. But if you take the cake pops out, it's going to kind of just like stretch back up, right? But maybe it'll take a little bit of time to regain elasticity. So that's kind of where we're at right now. It's weird. There's nothing in there. I kind of expect sometimes, like when I'm walking, to maybe feel, I didn't even think about this before, but when you're walking and you have cake pops, you expect to just kind of feel them down there. Like, boop, boop, boop. Like maybe you feel them bounce up against the leg or whatever. It's just normal. You don't even think about it. It's been there for so long. Forever it's been there. As soon as they're gone, you notice like, wait a minute. It's like breezier down there. Whoa. It's a little bit lighter down there. It's not the same sensation every time I step forward and, walk. Just a little bit different down there. Okay, cool. And of course the pain is there, but yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a little bit more compact down there. There's a deflated whoopee cushion, says Ollie in the chat. Exactly. Yeah, kind of like that. They did not let me keep them, by the way. I forgot to ask in the OR, but like I had asked previously. And they wouldn't have, because apparently their plan was to biopsy them, because if you can screen for cancer for free, why not? Not that they thought I had any sort of cancer, but they did a biopsy and they just randomly emailed me. I didn't even know they were doing it. They were like, yeah, by the way, you don't have cancer. I said, cool, good to know. So that was, I guess, good. Yeah, so it's a little bit different down there. We'll see how the healing process goes. They used these stitches that are like self-dissolving stitches, if that makes sense, where over a couple weeks they'll slowly start to dissolve on their own and be gone eventually. So I don't have to like go in and get the stitches taken out, if that makes sense. I think that's about it for the orchiectomy. I'll ask the chat really quick in Discord if y'all have any other questions about the whole process, just so you can speak for all the other people who are going to be listening who can't ask retroactively, right? Maybe there's someone who's like later today or next week or 6 months from now even, who discovers this podcast and is like sitting in the dentist's office like, God, I wish Lily would have talked about this part of the thing. I'm so curious, like I'm burning with curiosity. I don't know, and now I can never know. So if the chat has any questions, but I guess not. Y'all. Oh wait, here we go. This is Ollie. Ollie has a question. Do you wish you'd had the surgery sooner instead of meds? Yeah, sure. This surgery is not something. This surgery for me was a foregone conclusion pretty early on in the process. I was never like, oh, I don't know. I never liked my cake pops. I never was excited about them. And the fact that I had to take spironolactone just to stop them doing what they were going to be doing, stop them making testosterone, was kind of a pain in the ass, right? So I guess I would have done it sooner. Like if you had asked me this time last year, so last summer, I think I probably would have been game a year ago. I think about 2 years ago, that would have been what? Summer 2021. What the heck was I doing summer 2021? I think I probably would have been a little more hesitant 2 years ago, just because I had just started hormones. And that's a big step. And I didn't quite have the context of how much spironolactone sucked. But yeah, it was not long into me starting hormones and, really getting my transition on track that I was like, yeah, let's get this done. It was just, at a certain point, the barrier was just healthcare and health insurance, right? Because if I'd done it through Aetna, which was my old employer's health insurance, I would have had to pay huge amounts of money, because so often when you talk about trans healthcare, there are certain things that trans people need, and I say need, right? Like hair removal, right? On my face, I have a beard. I need that gone. It is a gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria is a condition. This is the treatment, right? And if you put it in that context, it makes perfect sense that a health insurer would cover that. However, laser hair removal, traditionally speaking, is not a need, quote unquote. Traditionally, when you hear about laser removal, you're talking about cisgender women who might have maybe like a little like light blonde mustache that they want to get rid of, that they just kind of bugs them, right? It's not gender dysphoria. It's kind of like a cosmetic thing, right? And, who's to say that they don't need that, right? But they're not suffering from the same conditions. It's a different situation, right? Maybe they're tired of shaving their legs. I don't want to shave my legs anymore. Too much time. Let's just get it lasered, right? So when you go to a health insurer and say, hi, I would like laser hair removal, please. They'll say, oh, you mean a cosmetic procedure? We don't cover that. And then you say, oh, well, it's not cosmetic because I'm transgender and this is gender dysphoria. And they will then say, goes into notes of how to respond to this question. We don't cover that. Sorry. And how health insurers are, right? Like they don't care. They have the rules, and there's literally nothing like the people on the phone can do, right? There's special pathways of, oh, you probably want to talk to our gender care unit, right? And then, you call up the gender care unit and they're like, oh yeah, you need to send a letter from your doctor to this email address. And then you get the letter from the doctor, but they don't give you guidelines on what the letter needs to say. So the letter goes to the email and it gets sorted into the wrong box because it had the wrong header on it. And then you wait 2 months and then you call them and they say, we never got a letter. And you say, oh, okay. And then the doctor says, well, I don't know how to write the letter. And you try to get the 3-way call between the doctor and the health insurance. And they then don't want to talk to the person because they're not authorized on your account. And then you finally get the thing and they say, oh, we've decided that actually we don't want to cover this because, you say, oh, well, can we appeal that decision? And they say, maybe. I'm going to send you to the appeals unit. And then the appeals unit says, we think this is a cosmetic procedure, right? And you say, well, no, I'm transgender. You say, oh, well, you should go back to the transgender care unit because they're the one that can help you there. I said, well, they sent me to you. So what are you going to help me with? They say, well, sorry, we don't do anything with transgender care. We're the appeals department. You understand how this works, right? This is it's, for all of the inefficiencies that Kaiser Permanente has, at least the policy is there, right? In theory, it all should work. In theory, Kaiser Permanente as a company believes that gender affirming care is important and that it's covered. Whereas a company like Aetna, in some ways, can be more efficient for standard procedures, say, I don't know, tonsils removed, right? You can probably get that done in an afternoon. when it comes to something that their company is not set up to understand, right? Their playbook does not account for trans people. They don't factor that into the way they do business. It's nearly impossible, as opposed to Kaiser, in which case they'll drop the ball sometimes, but you can basically just like help them pick up the ball and they'll keep running with it, right? So anyways, that's my rant about health insurance. I don't know if that was interesting or not, but that's the truth of the matter. It stinks to be transgender and have to deal with health insurance. It is the actual worst, but hopefully the world is going to get a little bit better every day about that. Okay. This has been, I'm assuming, a long podcast. I can't tell because the recording has accidentally stopped 3 times. Cool. I think we could probably leave it here unless anyone else has any other questions. As a reminder, if you want to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, I will read every 5-star review on the podcast. If you want to be one of the 10 or so people listening on Discord right now who have been actually here to ask me questions and listen to me record this live, you can by subscribing to patreon.com/LILLYTINO, starting at $5 a month. Although the $10 a month tier is pretty good because you get all the spicy stuff, right? Like the fully uncensored stuff you get from me. Yeah, catch my streams on TikTok. I do those every day. If you are someone who listens to my podcast but does not watch my streams, DM me, please. I am curious how that happened, right? Because I would imagine that most people who listen to my podcasts also listen to my streams and that it doesn't go the other way. But if you are that person, you know what? How about this? Leave a review. If you're someone who has never watched any of my streams, maybe doesn't even follow me on social, but listens to this podcast, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, ideally 5-star. I will read it and we will talk about it live. Cool. Final thought of the day from Natalia. I used to have Aetna. I hear it's old people insurance. LOL. That is a painful LOL, Natalia, but I think you're right. Cool, everyone. I love you. Stay lovely.